a child's neck bone, cut with the same precision used on animal prey, not once, not by accident. Researchers found identical marks on both children and adults at a cave in Spain dated to 850,000 years ago. This wasn't survival, this was routine, and it's not an isolated case. At Kubifora, Kenya, scientists found a hominin shin bone with 9 cut marks, all facing the same direction, all made in a single sitting. Dated to 1.45 million years ago, it's the oldest known evidence of one human ancestor eating another, which means this behavior isn't a strange exception in our history. It stretches back further than language, further than fire, further than almost anything we consider human. At Grandolina, in Spain, archaeologists have now examined 24 individuals, adults and children, all showing the same defleshing marks. Paleoecologist Palmira Saladier, who led the research, described one child's remains as processed like any other prey. Not an act of desperation, a repeated, practiced behavior passed down across generations of a species that no longer exists, called Homo antecessor. And here's what makes it stranger. The marks weren't rushed or chaotic. They were consistent, clean, made by someone who had clearly done this before. Most researchers assume this was about survival, hunger, in a world without any margin for error. But one site breaks that pattern completely. At Gough's Cave in England, dated to roughly 15,000 years ago, researchers found human skulls carefully shaped into cups. Bones showing cut marks, deliberate fractures, and human tooth marks. This population wasn't starving. Animal bones at the same site show they had regular access to deer, horse, and other prey. They ate their own dead anyway, as part of a ritual. Here's the detail that should genuinely unsettle you. On one bone from Gough's Cave, researchers found something beyond butchery marks entirely, a deliberately engraved zigzag pattern cut into human bone, using the exact same artistic style found on decorative objects from the same period. Someone finished eating, and then carved art into what remained. Researchers who compared the incisions to over 300 other filleting marks confirmed this wasn't accidental damage. It was intentional decoration on human bone in a cannibalistic context, and it wasn't confined to one region or one moment in time. Neanderthal remains showing similar cut marks have been found at sites across Europe. Evidence stretches from Kenya to Spain to England, spanning continents and separated by over 1 million years. Different species, different climates, different reasons. Some driven by hunger, some, like Gough's Cave, driven by something closer to belief or memory, or a way of processing death that looked nothing like burial as we understand it today. There's a theory some researchers have proposed for sites like Gough's Cave, one that reframes the entire picture. Rather than viewing this purely as violence, some archaeologists suggest it may have functioned as a form of funerary practice, a way of keeping the dead close, physically, rather than simply placing them in the ground. The skull cups, in this interpretation, weren't trophies taken from enemies. They may have been the final resting place of someone's own community member, transformed rather than buried, remembered rather than lost. We can't know for certain which explanation is correct at any single site. What we do know is that this wasn't one grim, isolated moment in prehistory. It's a pattern that repeats across more than 1 million years, across different species of human, on different continents, for completely different reasons. Sometimes hunger when there was no other choice, sometimes ritual when there was no shortage of food at all, and at least once, apparently, something close to art. The next time you picture your ancestors, don't only picture hunters or toolmakers or storytellers gathered around a fire. Somewhere in that same lineage, someone picked up a stone tool and made the same precise cut again and again across 1 million years for reasons we are still trying to fully understand.